Hi everybody, I'm Tabitha and I've read 5 more books. Welcome to September. We finally made it. If you watch my August wrap up, you know that I already made my goal for the year, my Goodreads goal for the year, but that doesn't mean the reading stops around here. So I've read 5 more books and I'm going to give you my reviews. If you're looking for my rating scale or why I give a certain star rating to each book, you can now find that at the end of the video. So there's a helpful timestamp in the description that'll let you jump right to that so you can review it before we get started. There are also timestamps for each book I'm about to review, so you can jump around as you please. Ready? Let's go. First up for today's reviews is Alone by Lisa Gardner. This is an adult age category mystery thriller. It was published in 2004 by Bantam, and it is 451 pages. Your synopsis. Massachusetts State Trooper Bobby Dodge watches a hostage standoff unfold across the street where a man has barricaded himself, his wife, and his child in a wealthy apartment. The man's finger tightens on the trigger, and Bobby has a split second to make a decision that he will forever pay the consequences for. I'm going to be doing a fast review of this one today because it's not a shield, it's not a review, it's not an arc, and so I'm just going to give it a fast review. Please make sure to find me on Goodreads to check out my full review where I'll detail what I didn't like, what I did like, and who I recommend this one for. But for my rating of this one, I gave this one 3 stars. It has a really niche audience. You're only going to like this one if you like detective thrillers that have a renegade cop who just can't let something go. Make sure to check out Goodreads if you want my full review, especially if you think you might be in that niche. 3 stars for Alone by Lisa Gardner. The next book up is The Lost Signal by J.S. Fernandez Morales. This is an adult age category science fiction novel. It was independently published in January of 2020, and it is 386 pages. Your synopsis. An ancient threat returns to conquer humanity. They have ruled Earth once, and they will do it again. Humans can't fight this war. Not without help. So what didn't I like about this one? So this one has a dual storyline. It's brilliant, but I'll get to that in a minute. But the dual storylines are different enough to cause you to feel like a sense of imbalance when they shift. It kind of makes it difficult to keep track of character names or remember details of what had been happening in one storyline before you stopped checking in. So you might get chapter 1 from that storyline and then not check in with them again until chapter 3. By that time, you kind of forgot details, names, and what had been going on. So it's a little jarring sometimes, but I'll have more on that dual storyline in a second. Second thing I can say I wasn't hugely a fan of is that this book does have long chapters. This is a personal thing. I prefer short chapters. I like when I can sit down and read one quick chapter in one quick sitting, although if they're short enough, I tend to read multiples of them in one sitting. I think it just feels like it breaks up the book a little and it helps you pace yourself through it. Long chapters like this can be difficult to stay motivated on. Again, I'm aware that's a personal thing. Third thing I can say I wasn't crazy about in this book is that it was slightly predictable. Slightly. As in, I had a few of the twists for this one, including, in my opinion, what was supposed to be the big one, figured out, but I don't have a clue as to what would be coming in book 2. So that's why I can't say it's fully predictable. I think there's a book 2. It turns out this is a trilogy, and I have no idea where the author's going with this next. So although I had one of the big twists for this book figured out, there's still a lot of things that surprised me, and I think a lot of surprises coming. So what did I like about this one? Well, I promised I'd come back to that dual storyline. The dual storyline in this one works once you start to recognize the similarities and the connections between the 2 storylines. Plus, once the spoiler hits, you like how I did that instead of giving it away? Let's just say that it works. The second thing I can say I liked about this one is there is a questionable character. I cannot overstate how much I love those questionable characters. The author in this one chooses to drop a morally questionable character right into the story, which, hello, that's my favorite type of character. But this one is the villain. Yes! That's my favorite thing in books ever. Give me a villain that is unquestionably bad and then make me question it. Right when I think he's crossed too many lines, make me wonder if he really is good somewhere down there. That is my favorite. I love that. Third thing I can say I loved about this one is that really there's a huge lesson buried in this one. So if you like big life lessons that you can search for, even in science fiction, there are big ones in here about being an outcast or not being accepted, or feeling different from society. It's buried in a story about aliens and war, but it's there for the learning, and really that's pretty brilliant. Who do I think should read this one? If you are a science fiction fan who enjoys stories about alien races, you should read this one. This one gave me big Speaker for the Dead vibes, which really is the biggest compliment I can give it because I loved this book and that book. Yeah. My rating? I gave this one 4 stars. I loved this book. It would be absolutely great for science fiction fans. It will appeal to science fiction readers. And yes, I don't think it's going to cross genres, which would make it, doesn't make it 5. But if you're a science fiction fan, you need to go get this one. It is wonderful. So 4 stars for The Lost Signal by J.S. Fernandez Morales. This next book had been on my TBR list the longest before this month started. Next up in our reviews is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This was published in 2012 by Dutton Books. It is a young adult age category contemporary novel, and it is 313 pages. Before the month started, this was the oldest book on my TBR. Your synopsis. Despite the tumor-shrinking medical miracle that bought her a few years, Hazel has never been anything but terminal. But when a gorgeous plot twist named Augustus suddenly appears in her support group, Hazel's story is about to be completely rewritten. So what didn't I like about this one? This first thing, I didn't even know if I should mention it because I felt like I'd heard this story before. But looking at published dates, I don't know, this might have been the original. So I kind of feel bad dinging it for that because I'm not sure if I feel like I've heard it because other people copied from it or what. I don't know. It just gave me a sense of, yes, I've heard this story. Second thing I can say I didn't like is that the voice just didn't feel right to me. It felt off and almost a little unrealistic. Of course, not all teenagers are the same, and I'm not Hazel, but there were just a few moments that felt awkward and forced and unnatural. Third thing I can say I didn't like about this one, and actually I didn't mind it, but I like to give content warnings when they're appropriate. This one features, let's see, death, cancer, teen sex, sort of, and teen drinking. If that bothers you, you've been warned. So what did I like about this one? Okay, the romance is cute. I expected that. I've read John Green before. That first love feeling is written right. It's written in a cute way. It's very John Green. It's well done. I liked that. Second thing I can say I liked about this one is it had a good ending, which I have to say I didn't think I was going to be able to say based on what I thought was predictability of this novel, but it did. I worried we were going on a little too long, and then it turned out that, you know what, that final ending, I loved it. I loved it. That was a good choice. I'm not going to spoil it, even though it's been out for a while, and you probably read it. You all wondered why I hadn't. But let's just say that that ending is exactly what I needed. It's exactly what the book needed. It was perfect. Good choice. Third thing I can say I liked about this one is it reads fast. John Green is a master at writing language that just moves the story along. His chapters are short, his sentences vary in pace and in length, his details are enough to pull you in without bogging you down. Basically, he is a great, great writer, and I literally read this book in one day. Who do I think should read this one? Hopeless romantics who want a good cry need to go get this book. Yeah. My rating? I gave this one 4 stars. You know who John Green is. You know what he writes. He writes it well. He tells a good story. It's good. It's a solid YA contemporary that YA contemporary fans are going to love. Go get this one if you like that genre. 4 stars for The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Next up for the month of September is Belle Vue by CS Alleyne. This is an adult age category horror novel. It was published in 2020 by Crystal Lakes Publishing, and it is 350 pages. Your synopsis. Claire thinks she's found the perfect apartment solution when a unit at Belle Vue, a former asylum, becomes available. But when she moves in, she will find herself, her boyfriend, and her roommate entangled in a past full of jealousy and murder. So what didn't I like about this one? Well, the first thing I can say I didn't like about this one is it kind of had a slow start. This one creeps along at the beginning, taking its time to get going. There are aspects in the beginning that are gross or shocking or horrific, but they almost feel like they're there for shock factor. Second thing I can say I didn't like about this one is it does have some unanswered questions. You can draw your own conclusions, which you know I like, but you definitely aren't getting everything spelled out for you. If you like to have all the answers in a book fully explained by the end of a book, you might have a problem with this one. Third thing I can say I didn't like about this one is I had kind of a knee-jerk reaction to the way patients at the asylum were treated and how they were constantly referred to as lunatics, even by the people who were supposed to be caring for them. Look, it might be period appropriate. I don't know. I didn't do the research, but it was crass and insensitive and it bothered me. So what did I like about this one? The epilogue. Easily the best part of this entire book, and it was a book that was well written, but the best part of this book is the epilogue. It ends with a bang. It is the absolute perfect ending to the story, and that epilogue almost made me go, this would make a good movie. Second thing I could say I liked about this one is that I said the first half was slow. You should know that the second half of the book moves quickly. It brings epic levels of intensity. I like the speed of the second half. I like the way it unwinds with previous clues into something that makes sense. Just well done second half. Third thing I can say I liked about this one is it does have a solid mystery in the old tale. Trying to piece together which characters you can trust and which one you couldn't was entirely satisfying. The last thing I can say I liked about this one is that it has a great setting. It's set in an old house with a Gothic style sort of history. It's a house that's going to take on the stage as one of the characters in the book. It's perhaps the most important character in the book. It just gave the book a great creepy Gothic feel, and I love houses like that. I love vibes like that from books. It was great. Who do I think should read this one? If you're a fan of Gothic horror novels where the setting is almost like a character, you're going to love this book. I also want to say that I got major ghost ship vibes from this book. Have you seen that movie? If you like that movie, you should give this book a chance. Very similar vibe. My rating, I gave this one 4 stars. I struggled with how to rate it, but at the end of the day, the ending for this one was highly satisfying and it saved a slow start for the book. And honestly, I think it's going to appeal to horror fans, and horror fans are not going to want to miss this one. So 4 stars for Belle Vue by CS Alleyne. The next book I read for the month of September is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira. This is an adult age category horror novel. It was published in 2017 by Orbit, and it is 440 pages. Your synopsis. 7 years ago, the Itargatas set sail to find proof of ancient sea legends. It was lost at sea. Some call it a hoax. Some call it a maritime tragedy. Now, a new crew has been assembled to mirror the movements of the fallen ship and find the truth behind that voyage. But the secrets will come with a heavy price. So what didn't I like about this one? I think this is common in horror novels sometimes, but this was anticlimactic. It felt like it was slow building to something huge, and I didn't think the payoff was quite worth the buildup, but I'm being picky. Second thing I could say I didn't like about this one is the bounty hunters. I'm going to mention the other characters in a minute, but these two were not my favorite. They were like caricatures of hunters that we didn't take the time to give personalities to or learn about at all. Instead, they were just like, kill things, good. It was, yeah. Third thing I can say I didn't like about this one is that, and this is a personal thing, the dates at the start get completely ignored. That's just me, I know, but reviews are personal, so I'm mentioning it, whatever. I don't necessarily like when chapters start with dates, because I don't pay attention to them. I feel like I have to check a calendar, and since I don't feel like doing that, I just don't pay attention to them and I keep reading. So for this one, I totally ignored them. The book didn't necessarily suffer for it, but if there was some big revelation in the dates and the order they happened in, let's just say I missed it. So what did I like about this one? This first one is huge, and I've said this before about other books, but I'm going to say it about this one too. I love that some science was left in this story. I use the term science kind of loosely, but I love the idea of presenting a mermaid story and filling it with science that might make it believable or realistic. It was well written, and I loved it, and I love when authors leave science in their science fiction. Second thing I can say I liked is most of the characters. I already mentioned the two I didn't like, but I loved everyone else. We have a deaf character whose inner thoughts on ASL people and people who don't sign are great. We have characters who are lovable, characters who only care about themselves, characters who are passionate about their work. Basically, this felt like a cast of real people that I had joined on this adventure. They're fleshed out, they're well written, and I loved them. The third thing I can say I liked about this one is the horror itself. Yeah, I expected horror, and it delivered in a big way. It was gory and scary and graphic. It's filled with people dying in disgusting ways. Basically, it's exactly what I was looking for in a horror story, which is what you want, right? Who do I think should read this one? If you like your horror served at sea, you should read this because it's well done. If you're intrigued by books that leave science in their science fiction, you're going to love this book. My rating, Around here, I give books that appeal to multiple genres 5 stars, and this one does. So 5 stars for this one. A lot of readers should be picking this one up. It was wonderful. Thank you to Amanda for recommending it. 5 stars for Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. Okay, that is it for me and the first 5 books that I read in the month of September. Actually, technically, the first one was August. The last 4 were September. But you don't care about that. I think you should drop a comment to let me know you're still here. Hit subscribe and tap that little bell so you know when I'm back. Keep plotting the path to your own dreams, and I will see you next time. Bye! Regular watchers of this channel will already know this, but I do book reviews every time I've read 5 books. You should know that I don't read just one specific age category or genre. I'm actually a reader of pretty much anything. So I will make sure to tell you what age category, what genre it is, and more importantly, what kind of readers I think will love the book that I'm reviewing. I do use a 5-star rating system to review all my books, so I'd like to take a quick second to tell you about that system. 5-star ratings are reserved for books that I absolutely love, that I think transcend genre. In other words, you might love this one even if you don't normally read the genre it's written in. 4-star books, on the other hand, are books that I absolutely love and think are great books, but they're more specific to the genre they are written for. 3-star ratings are for books that I think are good books, but they have a really niche audience. You might not love this one, even if you normally read this genre. 2-star ratings are the ratings I reserve for books that I think are problematic. I do try to explain some of the problems in the What I Didn't Love section so that you know if it's the kind of thing that would really bother you or not. 1-star rating, on the other hand, are reserved for books that I honestly didn't enjoy and can't recommend. They're just not for me.